My fiancée live streamed her bachelorette party, joking, "Should I even marry him?" I replied in the chat, "Don't bother." Then I texted the venue to cancel the wedding. Her maid of honor was calling me in a panic seconds later. I, 32 male, am, or rather was, engaged to Rachel, 29. I thought we were happy. I thought the meticulous planning, the endless discussions about floral arrangements and font choices for the invitations were the shared, tedious joy of two people building a life. Turns out, for one of us, it was just building a stage. It was a Thursday night. I was at home, paying the final deposit for the caterer online, feeling that quiet, adult satisfaction of checking a major item off a to-do list. My phone buzzed with a notification. Rachel F. is live on Instagram. I smiled. Her bachelorette party. A weekend at some fancy rental house with her maid of honor Carolyn and a gaggle of their friends. I clicked, expecting to see silly games and champagne flutes. And I did. The camera was shaky, clearly held by Carolyn. Rachel was front and center, wearing a future Mrs. Miller sash, her face flushed from alcohol. They were laughing loudly. Okay, real talk," Carolyn slurred, turning the camera to frame them both. "You're getting locked down. How does it feel?" Rachel took a dramatic swig from a bottle. "Alexander's great, you know? He's so stable." She said the word like it was a terminal diagnosis. Her friends giggled. "He pays the bills on time, his car is always clean, he remembers to take the trash out." "But is he fun?" someone shouted from off-screen. Rachel's eyes, usually so bright and focused on me, looked glassy and distant. She leaned into the camera, a conspiratorial smirk on her face. "He's a great provider. My parents love him. But is it enough?" "Honestly, guys," she paused for effect, bashed looking around at her cheering friends, "should I even marry him?" The room erupted in a mix of woos and "don't do it." Carolyn was laughing so hard, the camera shook violently. The chat on the side of the screen was flying by. Hearts, laughing emojis, comments like, "Run girl," and OMG Rachel. My world didn't shatter. There was no explosion of rage. It was more like the flick of a switch. A cold, silent, and profound click in my brain. The background noise of my life, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant city traffic, seemed to fade into a perfect, crystalline silence. She wasn't asking a question. She was voicing a doubt she'd clearly been nursing for a while. And she was doing it in front of an audience of hundreds. My fingers moved before my brain had fully caught up. I was logged into my personal account, the one with my face as the profile picture. I typed one sentence into the live chat. "Don't bother." I didn't wait to see the reaction. I closed the app. My heart was beating a steady, rhythmic drum, not fast, just strong. Practicality took over. The venue. I opened my texts, scrolled to our coordinator, Deborah. "Hi Deborah, this is Alexander Miller. Please consider this message my formal notification that I am canceling our wedding scheduled for October 12th. I understand the deposit is non-refundable. Please confirm receipt of this message. Thank you." I hit send. The spreadsheet, we had a massive shared Google sheet, budgets, guest lists, vendor contacts. I clicked File, Make a Copy, saved it to my private drive. Then I went back to the original, clicked Share, found Rachel's name, and selected Remove Access. Click, the caterer, I had literally just paid them. I sent a follow-up email. Subject, cancellation, event number 24601. Hello, further to my payment a few moments ago, the event has now been canceled. As per our contract, I understand this evening's payment and the initial deposit are non-refundable. No further action is needed. Regards, Alexander Miller. My phone rang. Carolyn. Her face, contorted in a fake smile on the caller ID, was the same one I'd just seen on the live stream. I watched it ring until it went to voicemail. A text bubble immediately popped up. "Carolyn, Alexander, call me. Now." Another one, seconds later. "What did you do?" And the one that made it all real. "The venue just emailed Rachel a cancellation confirmation. WTF is going on?" I put my phone on silent, face down on the counter. I went to the kitchen and poured myself a tall glass of ice water. The house was quiet. She had asked a question, and I had simply given her an answer. The rest? It wasn't revenge. It was just paperwork. Update 1. The next 24 hours were a strange sort of silent storm. My phone was a nuclear reactor of notifications. Dozens of missed calls from Rachel, Carolyn, and a few numbers I didn't recognize. Texts ranged from the hysterical, "How could you do this to me?" to the vaguely threatening, "You better answer your phone, Alexander." I didn't. I forwarded the venue cancellation email to Rachel's father, who had paid the initial deposit. The subject line was FYI, and the body was blank. I felt it was only right he be informed where his money went. Rachel got home late Friday afternoon. I heard her key in the lock, the sound of her suitcase wheels on the hardwood floor. I was sitting on the sofa reading a book. Alexander. I looked up. Her face was pale, her eyes red and puffy. The party sash was gone. "You have 5 minutes to explain yourself," she said, her voice trembling with a rage that felt completely unearned. "Explain what, Rachel?" I asked, placing my bookmark carefully. "You asked a question. I gave you an answer. I then acted on that answer." "It was a joke. I was drunk. It was my bachelorette party," she shrieked, the volume escalating with each excuse. "You don't just blow up our entire lives over a stupid joke. Was it a joke when you said I was stable, like it was a bad thing? Or when your friends were telling you to run? That all seemed pretty genuine to me. You were performing, Rachel, and you forgot your most important audience member was watching. You humiliated me," she cried. "You commented for everyone to see, then you called the venue. My phone blew up. Do you know how embarrassing that was?" "I imagine it was very embarrassing," I said calmly. "But you were the one live streaming to hundreds of people. The humiliation, as you call it, began when you held up our relationship for public ridicule. I just ended the show." This seemed to stun her. She sputtered, searching for a new angle. "The money, Alexander. My dad's money. We just lost thousands of dollars." "Your father's money, yes," I corrected. "I paid the final deposits for the caterer and the band myself last night, so I'm out a fair bit too. I've already emailed your father. I'll be sending him a check for my half of the non-refundable venue deposit he covered. It's the least I can do." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. The idea that I would be financially responsible and decent seemed to completely short-circuit her argument. She was counting on me to be a monster so she could be the victim. She left that night to stay with Carolyn. Good. The next phase of the narrative began the following day. Carolyn, a PR disaster in her own right, created a new group chat with our mutual friends titled Supporting Rachel. Her opening salvo was a masterclass in spin. Carolyn, "Hey everyone, as you may have heard, Alexander had a massive, unprovoked outburst and has called off the wedding. Rachel is obviously devastated. He completely overreacted to a silly joke she made at her party and is now refusing to speak to her. We're all just trying to rally around her during this awful time." My phone buzzed as a few friends replied with, "OMG, what happened?" and "Sending love to Rachel." I didn't reply. Instead, I did a little more housekeeping. Rachel and Carolyn ran a small side hustle, designing invitations and social media graphics for people. For the past year, they'd been using my premium Canva account and my Adobe Creative Cloud license. I logged in, changed passwords, revoked access. Then I remembered the shared Amazon account, the one where my credit card was the primary payment method. Logged out all other devices, changed the password. Later that evening, I got a call from a number I recognized as Rachel's father, Jack. I answered. "Alexander," he said, his voice heavy. "It's Jack. What the hell is going on?" I explained it to him, calmly. I told him about the live stream, the exact words she used, the cheering friends, and the public nature of it all. I told him I saw a future with his daughter that she was clearly and publicly unsure she wanted. He was quiet for a long time. "She can be dramatic, son," he said finally. "She gets caught up in the moment. She didn't mean it. With all due respect, Jack, she's 29. She's not a kid. Dramatic doesn't cover publicly questioning your decision to marry someone a month before the wedding. She meant it in that moment, and that moment was enough for me." He sighed. It was a sigh of profound parental exhaustion. "What happens now?" "We untangle our lives," I said. "That's all." After I hung up, I walked through the quiet apartment. Our apartment. On the fridge was a photo of us from a trip last year, smiling, looking happy. A deep, sharp pang of grief hit me. Not for her, not for the person who mocked me on a live stream, but for the man in that photo. For the future he thought he had. The feeling passed. It was replaced by a grim resolve. This was a controlled demolition. Messy, sad, but necessary to clear the site for whatever came next. My phone buzzed. A text from Carolyn. "Carolyn, Rachel needs to come get her things. And you owe her for the wedding money she spent. Her dad is going to call your parents." I laughed. The entitlement was almost impressive. You owe her. I screenshotted the text. Something told me it would be useful to have a record of their mindset. This was just the beginning. Update 2. 2 weeks have passed since what my friends now refer to as the live stream incident. The initial shockwave has subsided, replaced by the tedious, grinding work of prying 2 lives apart. Rachel is still holed up at Carolyn's place. Their supporting Rachel group chat has apparently become a salt mine of complaints about me, but a couple of friends sent me screenshots. The narrative is that I'm being cold and punitive. Hilarious, considering I'm just living my life, while Rachel is the one who blew up the wedding. The first major issue was the apartment. The lease is in both our names. Rent was due on the 1st. I paid my half. Her half sat there, unpaid. So, I sent an email. I find that written communication is best in these situations. It leaves a record. To Rachel F. Jack F. Subject: overdue rent for Apt 4B, 123 Main Street, due 10/01. Rachel, this is a reminder that your half of the rent, amounting to $1,100, is now 5 days overdue. As per our signed lease agreement, we are both legally responsible for the full amount. Failure to pay will negatively impact both of our credit scores and may result in eviction proceedings. Please remit payment immediately. If you wish to be removed from the lease, you will need to sign a release form with the landlord and pay your share of the rent up to that date. Regards, Alexander. I CC'd her father because it was his money she was used to spending. Let him be aware of the liabilities she was racking up. The phone call came within 10 minutes. It was Rachel, and she was furious. I can't believe you CC'd my dad, she yelled. Hi Rachel, I said, putting the call on speaker so I could continue making coffee. Are you calling to let me know you've paid the rent? I'm not paying rent for a place I'm not living in. You kicked me out. I didn't kick you out, Rachel. You left after you torched our engagement. Our legal obligation to the landlord, however, did not leave with you. I'm protecting my credit score. You should be concerned about yours. This is so cruel. You're trying to ruin me. No, I'm trying to pay my bills. Something you once described as stable and boring. Turns out it's pretty important. Let me know when you've sent the e-transfer. I hung up. The next day, her brother Dennis showed up at my door. He's 2 years younger than her and shares her sense of theatrical grievance. Dude, he started. No hello? You need to back off. You're going to ruin her credit over a few $100 after everything she's going through? Everything I put her through, you mean? I asked, leaning against the doorframe. Let me be clear, Dennis. Your sister publicly disrespected me and our relationship. I ended it. Now there are administrative tasks to complete. This is one of them. She pays what she owes, she signs the papers to get off the lease, and this part of the problem is solved. Just be a gentleman, man. Just let her off. Being a gentleman doesn't mean setting myself on fire to keep others warm, I said. A phrase I'd been repeating to myself a lot lately. It means handling my responsibilities, which I've done. She needs to handle hers. He left, muttering about how I'd changed. I hadn't. I was just no longer willing to absorb the cost of her irresponsibility. Then came the issue of her belongings, and one of mine. Amidst the chaos, I realized something was missing from my nightstand. My late grandmother's watch. It wasn't flashy, but it was a beautiful, vintage timepiece and one of the few things I had of hers. Rachel loved wearing it. She always called it our watch, but she knew it was mine, a family heirloom. She'd arranged via text, a curt one-line message, to have Carolyn come and pick up her things while I was at work. I sent another email to Rachel F. CC Jack F. Subject: collection of personal items and return of family heirloom. Rachel, I'm fine with Carolyn picking up your belongings tomorrow between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Please ensure she also returns my grandmother's watch, which was left on my nightstand. For clarity, I've attached a screenshot of our texts from July where you asked to borrow it. It needs to be returned tomorrow. Thank you. Alexander. The CC to her father was a calculated move. He knew my grandmother. He knew how much that watch meant to me. I was making it clear that this wasn't just stuff. This was a line being crossed. The next day, I came home from work to an apartment that felt eerily empty. Her closets were cleared out, her makeup gone from the bathroom. It was a relief. I checked my nightstand, no watch. My heart sank, but the anger that followed was cold and sharp. This wasn't an oversight. This was a petty, deliberate theft. The rent remained unpaid. The watch was gone. But something new had appeared in my inbox. An email from Jack. Subject: let's sort this out. Looks like Dad was finally ready to step in. Final update: it's been about 4 months. The divorce is finalized. Just kidding. We never got married, so it was just a clean, brutal break. The emotional shrapnel has mostly settled, and my life is blessedly quiet. The email from Rachel's father, Jack, led to a sit-down meeting. The three of us at a neutral ground coffee shop. It felt like a hostage negotiation. Rachel was sullen, staring into her latte like it held the secrets to the universe. Jack just looked tired of his 29-year-old daughter's self-inflicted drama. He started by sliding a small velvet pouch across the table. It landed next to my hand. "Here," he said, his voice flat. "This is yours. This was never up for debate, Rachel, and it was beneath you to take it." Rachel flinched but didn't look up. I opened the pouch. My grandmother's watch. I felt a wave of relief so profound it almost buckled me. I slipped it into my pocket without a word. Point 1 to me. "Now, the rent," Jack continued, looking at a piece of paper. "I have sent you the $1,100 for last month's rent, Alexander. I've also spoken to your landlord and paid the fee to have Rachel's name removed from the lease. This is the last time, Rachel, the absolute last time I bail you out of a mess you made." She mumbled something that sounded like it was his fault too. I just took a sip of my coffee. Let her have her narrative. The facts were written on the check from her dad. Then came the final item on the agenda: the wedding costs. This was the part I knew she was waiting for. The part where she thought she could claim some kind of financial victimhood. "We need to sort out the rest of the wedding expenses," Jack said. "It's pretty simple," I replied, pulling out my own list. "You and Rachel paid for her dress and the invitations. I paid the non-refundable deposits for the band, the caterer, the photographer, and the full, non-refundable cost of our honeymoon to Italy. I also bought the engagement ring." Rachel finally spoke up, her voice laced with venom. "So you're gonna pay me back for the dress, right? I can't return it." I almost laughed. "Absolutely not. You can sell it or burn it. I don't care. As for my losses, I'll be selling the engagement ring to recoup some of the cost of the honeymoon I'll no longer be taking." Her head snapped up, her eyes flashing. "You're going to sell the ring? After everything it was supposed to mean?" I leaned forward, keeping my voice low and even. "It was supposed to mean we were building a life together, Rachel. A life you publicly questioned for sport. When you asked that live stream if you should even bother marrying me, you rendered the ring's meaning null and void. It's not a symbol anymore. It's just a rock. A very pretty, very sellable rock." The finality in my voice seemed to hit her harder than anything else. There was nothing left to argue. The dream was dead, and I was liquidating the assets. And that was it. We left. I never spoke to her again. Here's the final fallout, as I've pieced it together from the odd text from a mutual friend and the general social grapevine. Rachel. She's still living with Carolyn, and by all accounts, the friendship is imploding under the strain. Carolyn signed up to be the fun-time maid of honor, not the full-time warden for a miserable, broke roommate. Rachel had to get a real 9-to-5 office job, which she apparently hates. She tells people I ruined her life. In a way, I guess I did. I ruined the life she thought she was entitled to, where her actions had no consequences. Carolyn, her reputation took a nosedive. The live stream, which was screen-recorded by dozens, made the rounds. She's no longer seen as the hilarious life of the party, but as the mean girl instigator who gleefully helped her best friend torpedo her own future. Karma's a funny thing. I sold the ring, got a decent price for it. I lost money, sure, but I gained peace, which is priceless. The apartment feels like mine now. It's clean, quiet, and stable. I'm embracing the boring life Rachel so despised. It's been incredibly peaceful. I blocked her, Carolyn, and her brother on everything. Last week I booked a flight, a solo trip, to Italy. I'm going on that honeymoon by myself. It's not the trip I planned, but it feels right. It feels like a beginning. The best part? The utter lack of remorse from her side. She'll go to her grave believing she was the victim of my overreaction. That certainty is my validation. She wanted a show, and she got one. It just had a surprise ending where the leading lady gets written out in the first act. And the leading man? He's doing just fine.